What if I told you that the reason you feel exhausted, anxious, or emotionally drained isn't because life is hard, but because you've forgotten how to live it properly? What if you're not broken at all, but simply running a perfect machine on the wrong settings? In a world obsessed with hustle, achievement, and nonstop motion, most of us are silently falling apart. And yet, as Nate Dallas reminds us in his powerful book, You're Too Good to Feel This Bad, it doesn't have to be this way. This book is not about vague motivation or quick fixes. It's a wake-up call to redesign the way you live, breathe, sleep, work, and think. By the end of this summary, you'll realize you are indeed too good to feel this bad. Nate Dallas begins with a confession. He was living the dream. A thriving dental practice, multiple side businesses, a happy family, and all the outward signs of success. Yet underneath, his body was collapsing. Insomnia, chronic pain, stomach problems, migraines, all signs that something was terribly wrong. After endless doctor visits and expensive tests, the verdict shocked him: stress and anxiety. That diagnosis felt insulting at first. He didn't feel miserable. He wasn't depressed. He was a high-performing, disciplined achiever. But what he didn't realize was that his body had been stuck in a constant state of fight or flight for years. That moment became the catalyst for a complete reinvention. Dallas began experimenting with his habits, routines, and mindset, not just to heal himself, but to thrive. What followed was a scientific and spiritual awakening that transformed his life. And now, through this book, he lays out a roadmap anyone can follow. Chapter 1. Waking Up. The story begins with a jolt of reality. Nate Dallas, a successful dentist, entrepreneur, and father, finds himself sitting in a hospital room, disoriented after surgery, listening to his doctor's report. Years of ambition, perfectionism, and relentless work had brought him material success, but also left his body and mind in shambles. He was suffering from chronic fatigue, migraines, gut issues, insomnia, and constant tension. Despite being a picture of discipline and success, Nate's body had finally sounded the alarm. He was burning out. When his specialist finally diagnosed him with stress and anxiety, he almost laughed. Stress? Anxiety? Those words didn't fit the image he had of himself. He wasn't miserable or lazy. He loved his work, his family, and his life. Yet, the doctor explained that stress isn't only emotional, it's biological. His body was functioning as though it were in a constant emergency. Every cell, every muscle, every organ was stuck in fight or flight mode. That diagnosis shattered his illusion of control. For the first time, Nate realized that high performance without restoration is slow suicide. Determined to heal, he decided to treat his body and mind as an experiment. He read voraciously, tested habits, monitored his health metrics, and began rebuilding himself from the inside out. What he discovered became the foundation of this book, a blueprint for aligning your biology and psychology to thrive. Chapter 1 is a wake-up call for anyone who's overworked yet unfulfilled. It teaches that success without balance is failure in disguise. Nate's story reminds us that feeling terrible isn't normal, and it's never too late to change. Chapter 2. Lying in plain sight, sleep. Dallas declares that if you fix your sleep, you fix your life. He calls quality rest the master switch of human performance. Before chasing supplements or biohacks, he insists you must restore your natural sleep rhythm. Why? Because sleep is when the body repairs, the brain processes memories, and the soul recalibrates. He explains that sleep deprivation is an epidemic. We treat exhaustion as a badge of honor, bragging about how little rest we need, when in truth, we're sabotaging our brains and shortening our lives. Sleep affects every system in the body: hormones, immunity, metabolism, emotional stability, and creativity. Even a few nights of poor sleep can make you as impaired as someone who's drunk. Dallas dives into the biology behind it. Our circadian rhythm, the body's natural 24-hour clock, dictates when we feel alert or tired. It thrives on consistency. Going to bed and waking up at the same times every day trains your brain to release sleep hormones like melatonin naturally. Light exposure is another key. Artificial blue light from phones and screens delays melatonin release, keeping the brain wired late into the night. He also explains adenosine, a chemical that builds up in the brain during the day and creates sleep pressure. After about 16 hours of being awake, adenosine signals it's time to rest. Caffeine blocks this signal, tricking the brain into thinking it's still alert. The result: poor quality sleep, restlessness, and long-term fatigue. Dallas's advice is practical. Turn your nights into rituals of restoration. Dim lights after sunset. Stay off screens an hour before bed. Keep your room cool and dark, and wake up with natural light. He insists that mastering sleep isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Rest, he says, is the foundation upon which every other aspect of well-being stands. Chapter 3. Get with the flow, breathing. We take 20,000 breaths a day, but few of us do it correctly. Dallas argues that how we breathe determines how we live. Shallow, chest-level breathing signals danger to the brain, activating the stress response. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing, on the other hand, send a message of safety and calm. He introduces the concept of conscious breathing, deliberately slowing and deepening your breath to control your internal state. This practice lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, improves focus, boosts oxygen flow, and anchors the mind in the present. Breathing, he says, is the remote control for your nervous system. Dallas shares several breathing exercises he found transformative. One is the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale through the mouth for 8. Another is box breathing, a steady rhythm of 4 seconds in, for seconds hold, for seconds out, for seconds hold. These methods strengthen the body's ability to remain calm under pressure. He also reminds readers that breath and emotion are intertwined. Anxiety, anger, and fear change the rhythm of our breathing. By reversing that pattern, controlling the breath, we can change how we feel. The lesson is simple but profound. If you want to control your mind, start with your breath. Chapter 4. Better inputs for better output. Water and food. In this chapter, Dallas reframes nutrition and hydration as inputs, the raw materials that build your energy, focus, and vitality. He emphasizes that your body is an ecosystem. What you consume determines how you function. Garbage in, garbage out. He begins with water. Most people live in a state of mild dehydration, mistaking fatigue, irritability, and hunger for lack of water. Hydration isn't just about drinking more, it's about balance. Clean, mineral-rich water supports digestion, detoxification, and mental clarity. Dallas recommends reducing caffeine and alcohol, both of which deplete hydration. On food, he dismantles diet culture. There's no one-size-fits-all meal plan. He says, only one universal rule: eat real food. Whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense foods support longevity. Sugar, refined carbs, and chemicals hijack your hormones and wreck your gut health. Dallas pays special attention to the gut-brain connection. The gut produces most of the body's serotonin, the hormone that regulates mood. A toxic gut equals a toxic mind. When you clean up your diet, your thoughts literally become clearer. He encourages readers to notice how food affects their energy, mood, and focus, because awareness is the first step to transformation. The message is simple: eat and drink as though your future depends on it, because it does. Chapter 5. Strain, Pain, and Gains, Exercise. For Dallas, movement is the cure for stagnation, both physical and emotional. He views exercise not as punishment for what you ate, but as gratitude for what your body can do. Physical activity, he says, is the most accessible antidepressant available. It releases endorphins, regulates hormones, improves sleep, and burns away stress. But he doesn't stop at the science. He talks about the psychological power of movement. Pushing through physical strain mirrors pushing through life's challenges. When you train your body, you're also training your resilience. Pain, in the right context, is feedback. It's your body's way of adapting and growing stronger. Dallas doesn't prescribe a single routine. Instead, he advocates for daily movement, something that elevates your heart rate and challenges your muscles. Strength training, walking, cycling, yoga, even gardening, the activity matters less than the consistency. The real transformation happens not in the gym, but in the discipline to show up every day. He closes the chapter with a reminder. Motion creates emotion. When your body moves, your mood lifts. Exercise isn't about looking good. It's about feeling alive. Chapter 6, Motion and Emotion, the Mind-Body Connection. In this chapter, Dallas dives deeper into the mysterious link between how we move and how we feel. The mind and body, he explains, are not separate entities. They're one integrated system. What affects one affects the other. He explores how emotions manifest physically. Anxiety tightens the chest. Sadness slows the breath. Anger tenses the shoulders. Joy expands the heart. Our bodies hold emotional memory. When we suppress emotions, they don't disappear. They lodge themselves in muscles, posture, and breath patterns. Dallas shares how movement became his therapy. Yoga, walking, and stretching helped him process emotions he didn't know he was carrying. He explains that when you move intentionally, you release old emotional residue and create space for peace. Even small acts, a walk in nature, deep stretching, or dancing, can shift your emotional state instantly. The key takeaway: movement is a language the body uses to heal itself. When words aren't enough, motion completes the conversation. Chapter 7, Getting Real with Yourself, Mindset. Dallas describes this chapter as the most confronting one because it's about self-honesty. Most people, he says, are living out scripts they didn't write, expectations from parents, culture, or fear. To change your life, you must first face the lies you tell yourself. He challenges readers to drop the mask of competence and ask hard questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I avoiding? What do I really want? This self-inquiry isn't comfortable, but it's liberating. True healing starts with truth. Dallas emphasizes that your mindset, the stories you believe, dictates your entire reality. Negative thought patterns flood your body with stress hormones. Empowering beliefs, on the other hand, release dopamine and serotonin, reprogramming your brain for possibility. The science of neuroplasticity proves that thoughts literally reshape your neural pathways. He offers a practical approach: awareness without judgment. Notice your thoughts as they arise. Don't fight them or feed them. Just observe. Over time, you'll realize you are not your thoughts. You're the observer behind them. That awareness creates space for change. Dallas ends the chapter with a truth that sets the tone for everything that follows. You can't live an extraordinary life with an ordinary mindset. Honesty with yourself is the doorway to freedom. Chapter 8, Why We Do What We Do, Human Needs. Dallas begins this chapter by exploring the psychology of motivation through a simple question: why do we do what we do? He explains that every human behavior, whether conscious or unconscious, is driven by an attempt to meet one or more of 6 fundamental human needs. Understanding these needs gives us the power to take control of our decisions instead of being controlled by them. The 6 core needs, as described by Dallas, are certainty, variety, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. He breaks each one down. Certainty represents our desire for safety, comfort, and stability, the assurance that we can avoid pain and gain pleasure. Variety is the need for change, surprise, and excitement. Without it, life becomes monotonous. Love and connection are the emotional anchors that make life meaningful. Significance is our craving to feel important, unique, and valued. Growth fuels our need to evolve and expand, while contribution satisfies our desire to serve something larger than ourselves. Dallas explains that these needs are neither good nor bad, but problems arise when we try to meet them in unhealthy ways. For instance, some people seek significance by dominating others, or pursue variety through self-destructive habits. The key is to become aware of which needs are driving our choices and whether our current strategies to meet them are sustainable. He encourages readers to reflect. Which two needs dominate your life right now? How do you fulfill them? Awareness of these patterns can change everything. When your actions align with your highest needs, especially growth and contribution, life becomes deeply fulfilling. This chapter is about reclaiming agency over your motivations so you can act from purpose rather than impulse. Chapter 9. Lost Leaders, Rest, Recreation, and Leisure. Dallas starts this chapter with a bold statement. Rest is a form of leadership. He argues that society has glamorized exhaustion and productivity to the point where rest feels like a weakness. But true strength lies in knowing when to stop. Burnout, he says, isn't a badge of honor. It's a signal of misalignment. He shares his own experience of neglecting rest, convinced that hard work equaled worthiness. But when his body and mind finally shut down, he realized that rest isn't optional. It's essential maintenance for high performance. Rest doesn't just restore the body. It renews the mind's creativity and perspective. Dallas redefines rest as active recovery, activities that nourish rather than numb. Watching television for hours doesn't count. Instead, he suggests activities that engage the mind in a restorative way. Walking in nature, playing music, gardening, or simply daydreaming. Recreation, literally meaning to recreate, is the process of regenerating your energy and imagination. He also dives into the psychology of play. As adults, we often abandon playfulness in the name of seriousness. Yet play is what reconnects us to joy, spontaneity, and presence. It's how we learn to enjoy the moment without chasing outcomes. Dallas encourages readers to schedule play just as intentionally as they schedule meetings. When you make room for leisure, you make room for life. Chapter 10. The Path to Stillness, Meditation. Dallas introduces meditation as one of the most transformative practices of his life, though he admits he once dismissed it as New Age nonsense. It wasn't until he was desperate for peace that he gave it a try. At first, he struggled. His thoughts raced uncontrollably. His body resisted stillness. But slowly, he realized the goal of meditation isn't to stop thinking. It's to observe thoughts without being swept away by them. He explains that our minds are like turbulent oceans, full of waves of thoughts, emotions, and impulses. Meditation is the practice of diving beneath the surface where the water is calm. Neuroscience now backs this up. Regular meditation strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus and emotional regulation, and reduces activity in the amygdala, the center of fear and stress response. Dallas outlines practical approaches for beginners. Start with 5 minutes of quiet sitting each morning. Focus on your breath, or simply observe your thoughts pass by like clouds. If your mind wanders, that's not failure. That's the training. The act of returning to focus is the muscle being built. He also discusses mindfulness, carrying meditative awareness into daily life. Washing dishes, walking, or eating can all become meditative when done with full presence. Over time, meditation cultivates stillness amidst chaos. The reward, Dallas says, is clarity, the ability to respond instead of react, and to live from peace rather than panic. Chapter 11. Lightening the Load, Minimalism. This chapter tackles one of modern life's greatest burdens, excess. Dallas observes that our culture is drowning in stuff. Physical clutter, digital noise, mental chaos. We buy more, consume more, and do more, yet feel emptier than ever. Minimalism, he argues, isn't about deprivation. It's about liberation. He recounts how he began decluttering his own life, starting with his home. Every object, he realized, carried a form of mental weight, a memory, an obligation, or a distraction. By letting go of what didn't serve him, he created space for peace. The process became spiritual, not just practical. Dallas expands the idea of minimalism beyond possessions. Emotional minimalism means letting go of toxic relationships, grudges, and unnecessary obligations. Mental minimalism means reducing information overload, unfollowing, unsubscribing, and simplifying inputs. Even time can be decluttered by saying no more often. The essence of minimalism is intentionality, choosing what truly matters. He concludes the chapter by reminding readers that life is not measured by accumulation, but by attention. When you own less, you notice more. When you let go, you gain freedom. Simplicity, he says, is not the absence of richness. It's the presence of clarity. Chapter 12. Reworking work. Dallas believes that our relationship with work defines much of our life satisfaction. Yet most people, he says, are either overworked or disengaged, trapped between burnout and boredom. The solution isn't working harder or quitting your job. It's redesigning your approach to work so that it serves your life, not consumes it. He argues that work should be an expression of purpose, not just a means of survival. To achieve this, you must align your professional efforts with your personal values. When what you do matches who you are, work becomes fulfilling instead of draining. But if your work constantly violates your integrity or limits your growth, no paycheck can compensate for that loss. Dallas encourages setting firm boundaries. Stop glorifying overwork. Take breaks, delegate, and disconnect after hours. Productivity without peace, he reminds us, is another form of self-destruction. He also stresses the importance of craftsmanship, doing your work with excellence and pride, regardless of the field. When you bring passion and integrity to your labor, even routine tasks become meaningful. Ultimately, this chapter teaches that the goal isn't work-life balance. It's work-life integration. When your work energizes rather than exhausts you, you know you've reworked it correctly. Chapter 13. Cash flow states money. Dallas calls money one of the most emotionally charged subjects in human life. He points out that while money itself is neutral, our relationship with it often isn't. Many people attach their self-worth to their bank balance, turning money into a source of anxiety or shame. Others use it as a substitute for validation, chasing possessions to fill emotional voids. He recounts his own unhealthy money patterns, constantly chasing more, equating income with identity. Eventually, he realized that financial peace had less to do with earning and more to do with understanding. He began to view money as energy. It flows in and out, and your job is to guide that flow consciously. Dallas urges readers to create systems, not stress. Track expenses, set clear goals, and automate savings. Lie below your means not because of fear, but because simplicity breeds freedom. He reminds us that wealth is not about how much you have, but how much you can enjoy without worry. The ultimate financial goal is peace of mind. He concludes with a perspective shift. Money is a servant, not a master. When your financial decisions align with your values, money becomes a tool for freedom, generosity, and impact, not a source of fear. Chapter 14. Leveling Up Relationships. The final chapter focuses on the heart of human experience, relationships. Dallas calls them the ultimate mirror. How we connect with others reveals how we feel about ourselves. No matter how successful or disciplined you are, if your relationships are shallow or toxic, your life will feel incomplete. He begins with the importance of presence. Most people don't listen, they wait to respond. True connection requires listening with empathy and intention, making others feel seen and understood. Dallas learned that giving full attention to a conversation can heal more than any advice ever could. He also discusses vulnerability, the courage to show up authentically. Many hide behind masks of competence or indifference, afraid of rejection. But vulnerability is what breeds intimacy. When we risk being real, we invite others to do the same. Dallas then turns to the topic of boundaries. Love doesn't mean self-sacrifice. Healthy relationships require mutual respect and space. Saying no isn't rejection, it's self-respect. He emphasizes surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow rather than drain your energy. Lastly, he reminds readers that love is not just an emotion, but an ongoing choice to show up, to forgive, to serve. Great relationships aren't built by chance. They're built by consistent care. When you invest time, attention, and honesty, your relationships become your greatest source of joy and strength. Dallas closes this chapter and the journey by affirming that personal wellness isn't achieved in isolation. True fulfillment comes when you are physically healthy, mentally balanced, and deeply connected to others. Relationships, he concludes, are the arena where our best selves are both tested and revealed. In the final section, Nate Dallas ties everything together. He reminds us that this journey isn't about perfection, but progress. Each chapter builds upon the last, from mastering your body to mastering your mind and relationships. Transformation, he says, doesn't happen through big leaps. It happens through small, consistent upgrades. You don't need more motivation. You need better tools. The truth is simple. Living a happier, healthier, more peaceful life takes less effort than living a chaotic one. The reward for doing this work is immense: clarity, confidence, and joy. You begin to see that life isn't meant to be endured. It's meant to be experienced fully. Nate Dallas ends with a profound promise. If you follow these principles, you will think clearer, breathe deeper, sleep better, and love stronger. You will stop surviving and start thriving. Because yes, you are too good to feel this bad.